Welcome to the Intuitive Websites Internet Marketing Podcast, bringing you the country's top podcast on the subject of internet marketing. I'm your host, Glenn Thayer, and we're going to discuss how to drive traffic to your website from sources other than search engines. I'm here with the CEO of Intuitive Websites, Tom Young, and Internet Marketing Specialist, Dennis McCarthy. How's it going, guys?
It's going good.
Hi, Glenn.
But first, we have a quick update on our website that we reviewed in a previous podcast, npr.org. Tom, tell us a little about what's going on there.
Well, I hope someone at NPR listens to this. A few weeks ago, we did a podcast comparing NPR with local newspaper, Gazette.com. And we really raved about NPR. We thought it was a great website, nice layout, and said it was, if you're going to do news on the web, what a great way to do it. Well, unfortunately, they went against all our recommendations and guidelines and changed their website. So they now have become a mishmash of content. And if you look at this site, I think for most people, the first thing in their head is going to be, oh my gosh, do I have to work to figure this out? And there was a lot less work on the previous website.
Well, now they've got to change their browsing habits. If they're used to going to npr.org every day, they now have to go, oh, wait, I have to refigure out how I'm going to do this. And this isn't customizable, is it? Their website doesn't allow you to customize it like a Google page, if you will.
No, it's not customizable. And in fact, they have these categories that aren't in order. The music category is repeated with the same photo twice. One of the most important links here is to either get a news summary update or to get the 24-hour program stream, which is what a lot of people do, I'm sure. And it's buried in tiny text at the very top of the page. I looked forever, it seemed like. And on the web, forever is a couple minutes. That's just the way it is.
A couple seconds.
It is, absolutely. I mean, on the web today, people want information, they want it quick. Don't waste my time. And that's the way it is. So when you come to this website as a user of NPR, you have to teach yourself all over again, where are the things that I need? And because it's so cluttered and mishmash now, you're just not going to take the time to go search and find those stories. So finally, I did find the hourly news summary. It's up at the top next to the logo. It's very small. And I am drawn to this rotating picture in the middle, but usually the picture switches on me before I can finish reading it. And so then I got to go back and say, well, gosh, I got to start clicking now. I got to start thinking about, where did that picture go? What is it? Oh, what's this button here? That's valuable time that's being lost in the user's mind. And they're going to go on to something else. It's just the way the web works.
Dennis, anything for you? Any comments?
I think the bottom line is, when you look at a website, if it gives you a headache to look at it, then it's probably not a very user-friendly website. And this one looks like work to me.
Yeah, if you're listening to the podcast, go on to npr.org, go to their Contact Us page, and you have to dig around a little bit. But if you do dig around, you'll eventually find a form that's actually under technical support for the website. It's the only place I could find it. And in that form, put a note in there that says, why, oh, why did you change your site? And then send it in, and maybe they'll do some modifications.
Make it easy.
Yes, absolutely.
I think the people at Gazette.com must have done consulting for them.
Yes.
Well, let's talk about driving traffic outside of search engines, basically using other methods aside from search engine optimization to drive traffic to the website. Now, I know that, I guess let's start with content and the value of the website. Let's go start there.
Well, here's the thing about search engines. I mean, we've spent a lot of time talking about search engines, and they come up, all the time in internet marketing. Everybody wants to be in the search engines, and they want to be number one, and they want a great paid ad campaign.
But you don't always have to be at the top of every search.
Absolutely, and there's other ways to get traffic. Absolutely. There's other ways to get traffic. And really what you have to do, and we're going to talk about today, is develop a plan and a strategy and make it an ongoing part of your internet marketing efforts. You're constantly looking at, how else can we get traffic in other than optimization and pay-per-click? And it all starts with the content and value on the site. That content, and whatever, even if you're an e-commerce site selling products, whatever you're doing, whatever kind of content you have on your site needs to be distributed throughout the web in order to drive people in. And there's lots of ways to do that. Basically, the bottom line is you want to reach out to other websites so that they can link back to you, or you want to get your content on other websites so that they can link into your value proposition.
Well, how would you suggest doing that? Because I know a lot of people are not real comfortable with picking up the phone or shooting an email to another website saying, hey, I know you don't know who the heck I am, but would you put a link on my site? I'll put a link on my site, as far as like a link exchange.
Yeah.
Is there another way to do that?
To me, it's bigger than link exchange. To me, it's really understanding who's your target market, what are they looking for, what problems do they have that you can help solve, and having content that's really geared to answering those questions. And then doing your keyword research, and then going out and finding out what the web landscape looks like for your industry and for your particular set of keywords in your target market. And that involves all kinds of different things that go beyond link exchanges, like associations, publications, places where you can place articles, so you can be an authority in your field.
Well, I've seen a lot of speakers, professional speakers, utilize other professional speakers that may not be in their field of expertise. And they'll say, hey, check this out. Great article by my friend Fred, who wrote this great article on living a great life.
Absolutely.
And that way everything's tagged to him. But on the same token, you go to Fred's website and you see Bill's information saying, hey, here's an article from Bill telling you how to get more productive throughout the day.
Yeah, and it's a lot more than link exchanges. You really have to see it as networking through the internet. Just like you would network offline if you met someone at a social function or whatever, you're doing that online.
What would you say it was more content-driven, though?
It's more content-driven, but it's got to be a win-win for both parties. So, for example, let's say that you are a consultant and you've got content you want to get out there. And let's say you're a consultant on sprinkler systems or landscaping. Doesn't matter what the topic is. There are websites out there that are hungry for content in that area. Maybe it's somebody who's selling sprinkler supplies, or maybe it's a portal for folks that come to get landscaper supplies. They need content to make their website more valuable. If you're a content provider, you provide them the content. What they provide you then is a link back for you to be a resource to their customers. So there's always ways to do that, and you've got to make it an ongoing part of your marketing efforts. And you're right, a lot of people are hesitant to pick up the phone and make a call and say, hey, would you want to do this? But really the best thing to do is go to the website, find the win-win relationship, send an email and say, look, I have something to offer you in this content, and all I'm asking for in exchange is that you have a link back to my site on the content I provide you. And those things will do two major goals. They'll accomplish two major goals. One is they'll get more traffic to your site other than search engine traffic. And if it's a reputable website, it's going to improve your rankings in Google, because Google, of course, looks for incoming sites as a way of ranking its own websites, or its own websites in its database. Now, one of the most important things you can do, and we've talked about this in another podcast, is have a great email program. If you have a decent email program, that's another way to get traffic into your website. And one of the things we've seen with clients is that they kind of struggle with what to call their email program. And I think a really good thing to do is just call it an e-newsletter. Call it an e-newsletter or call it an email newsletter. These names like The Voice or The Authoritative or The Advisor or The Connection or The Connector, users look at those links and they're like, what is that? And they're not going to subscribe. But pretty much everybody knows what an e-newsletter is, or an email newsletter.
I think that goes back to our other podcast. We're talking about making sure your menu items are named appropriately.
That's
if it's contact us, have it say contact us.
Yeah, don't say, connections or whatever.
No time for nuance.
Drop us a line. Anyway, so do that with the newsletter. Have a very simple name. Email newsletter is the best. Segment your lists.
Now that's basically breaking up your list into, hey, if you do business in different types of areas, break up your list that way. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
As far as your segmentation?
We were just hired to do some work for Vistage.com, and they have three very separate types of segments that they market to: CEOs, key business leaders, and consultants. And so they have right now one email newsletter that goes out to all three. And so because CEOs are their most important segment, the content tends to focus on the CEO material. But here's the catch. The CEOs don't come in to Vistage. The CEOs are referred into Vistage, usually by consultants, by other CEOs, or by key managers that have an experience. So by focusing exclusively on CEOs, they're not maximizing what they can do to get more leads in, to get more referrals in. Other questions, with your email newsletter, no more than once a week. Bi-weekly or monthly is probably the best. Get a designer to help you and format it so it looks like a newsletter.
Well, and talking about formatting and designing it, the great thing is those programs that you can subscribe to online, like Constant Contact or any of the other ones. What is it? The other one, Vertical
Response.
Vertical Response. They all have formats that are already pre-done that you can just plug your information in.
Oh, that's
They've
great.
got
Yeah,
templates.
they know, and have some people look at it because it needs to look like a newsletter. It shouldn't look like a mishmash of text or an ad or anything like that. And then have a subscriber link on your website. Make sure it's easy to find, upper left-hand corner, and have a subscriber link on the newsletter.
Would you say that would be on every web page?
On every web page, yeah, because one of your goals is to get more traffic to your website.
And in your email signatures.
Yeah, put in your email signatures. Spread the word that this is hopefully it's a free newsletter. You can also charge for newsletters too, but you're probably going to have some form of free email marketing as well. But don't forget, put a subscribe link on the newsletter itself. A lot of people don't do that, and I think that's very valuable because what happens is people will forward that newsletter to others, and then they can easily subscribe from
Or
the
they
forwarding.
don't put their phone number on there, or they don't put even their company name.
or their contact information in there.
Put contact information in there. Archive all your newsletters on your website. So when you click on archive, you can see all the newsletters. People will go there just to get content.
They
Now, would
tend
you
to
say
be-
would you-
I'm sorry.
Oh,
Glenn.
no worries.
Those tend to be keyword rich. So in terms of search engine optimization, having a bunch of newsletters with a bunch of your keywords on it does nothing but good.
Now, would you suggest putting those in a blog, or would you suggest putting a specific page together that is past newsletters,
Yeah,
or both?
yeah, both. Well, you can do both, but you want to have a link that says archive newsletters. You click on that link and you see the newsletters. They're just a long list there by date or by subject or whatever. And then schedule your drops. And depending on the kind of business you're in, you can schedule drops so that anyone that subscribes to your newsletter gets every copy of the newsletter going back to the first edition. So that, that's one thing to do depending on how you want to.
Talk a little more about scheduled drops. I mean, so what you're saying is that you can set it up to where somebody says, I want to subscribe to your newsletter, and they have an option to choose that they get all of the past newsletters that they've missed. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, absolutely.
How would somebody set something like that up?
Well, what you would do is you would say you're going to be receiving all of our archived newsletters when you subscribe, and it's going to start with the first issue, and you'll receive those however weekly, monthly, whatever, until you're caught up. You have to think about this strategically and plan it out. If you only have a dozen newsletters, it's not a big deal. If you've got 250 newsletters, that probably won't work for you.
Now, is that something that can be done through Constant Contact or Vertical Response, or?
I believe they do. I believe those services provide that. Now, the other thing then is once you have a solid email program and the content's in there is good, that certainly can give you bumps on your website. We see that all the time with our clients.
And that's what you just said is really important. The content in there is good. Don't send fluff. Don't send a brochure as a newsletter. People hate that. And it's like with the website as well. It needs to be interesting to your target market. Do not send advertising fluff in your newsletter, or people will unsubscribe or just put you right in the junk mailbox.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, yeah.
Our focus has always been with email is that junk email gets deleted, good email gets read. So you got to be good email or you get deleted.
Well, and that's something that, if you want somebody to forward the information, even if the information is not specifically your own, it could even be for your newsletter. You could even take information from somebody else who you have your link exchange with or your content exchange and say, hey, I thought you may be interested in this information from my friend. Here's what it is that can help you out that's similar to the information you were going to give anyway.
It's like the email and the linking programs are the same subject. You have an expertise that you're sharing, and you're spreading it out there on the web. And if it adds value to your target market and it solves some of their problems, they're going to read it.
This ends part 1 of our Intuitive Websites Internet Marketing podcast. Stay tuned for part 2. And remember, for more information and to see all the available podcasts and much more, visit intuitivewebsites.com.